Brothers and sisters of Downtown Mission Church, hello. I've got some exciting things I'd like to share with you today. All of those exciting things are centered around our book of Hebrews and this tagline that we are pursuing for the next several months, Jesus is better. One of the ways we want you as a church to see that Jesus is so much better than all that we see around us is by devoting some of your personal time in the scriptures to studying the book of Hebrews. Pastor Justin, Pastor Chris, and I believe that there is profound transformation that happens when you devote time Monday through Saturday to the book of Hebrews, and then rely on the sermons on Sundays to just magnify and clarify truths that you are already seeing in the scriptures. So we would hope that you would devote some time to Hebrews and then come on Sundays already having read parts of these passages and yearning to see things that you haven't yet seen or things that you have seen talked about in a more glorious way. So we've written down a few different ways that you can engage the letter to the Hebrews just to give you some ideas of maybe how to vary your devotional time over the next few months. One of them will be to read throughout the week the passage that's going to be preached on Sunday. So each month, we will be putting out the passages that we'll be preaching on the given Sundays in that month. And you'll be able to say, okay, next Sunday, we're preaching on Hebrews 2, 1 through 5. So on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I'm going to slowly read just through those short selection of verses. Oftentimes, the passage will be somewhere between 3 and 7 verses, so not that many, something you can slowly read over the course of the week. This would be a great option for those of you who don't feel like you have a lot of time, maybe with young kids, and you're trying to figure out how can I devote time to reading. Another option would be to read one chapter a day, which will get you through the book several times in the next few months. A following option, maybe if you take in information slower than others, studying one chapter a week would be a fantastic way for you to walk through the book of Hebrews multiple times as we preach through it. One way that I thought was very interesting and really insightful was reading through the entire book in one setting. It only takes about an hour. You can read from Hebrews 1 to Hebrews 13 in about an hour, and you see some things in the larger scope of the book that you don't really see if you're going slowly in the smaller passages. If you spend a lot of time in the car, listening to Hebrews takes about 45 minutes. So if you found yourself driving from Wausau to Point or Point to Wausau or Wausau to Marshfield, you could listen to the book of Hebrews. So these are just some exciting ways that hopefully maybe ways you haven't thought about engaging with a book of the Bible before, and ways that we think you can do many of. So maybe one month you're walking through slowly one chapter a week, and the next month you decide once a week I'm going to read the whole book. Or I'm going to use the sermon passages for that week, and you can play with different strategies and see how you intake the word of the Lord differently and how the Lord speaks to you differently. One more option and a couple resources we would like to provide is different commentaries that might be helpful for you in your personal time, helpful and affordable to you. So each of these commentaries are readily available online. The first one is the Christ-Centered Exposition series. It is exactly as it sounds. It is a series that is centered on Jesus. Every passage in this book is trying to find its way back to Jesus. Back to Jesus. This is a book that has been incredibly helpful to my wife, Morgan. She studied the Isaiah version of this in her personal time along with the book of Isaiah and really loved the illustrations that it provided and the simple pastoral way that the writing allowed you to learn different things about the book. The second option would be the Preaching the Word series by Kent Hughes. You might think preaching the word sounds like that's for people who preach the word, i.e. preachers or pastors. And in some ways, it is. But one of the reasons why this series is called the Preaching the Word series is because everyone who writes in this series has to have preached that book of the Bible. And so Kent Hughes has made sure that these are not abstract thoughts. These are not thoughts for only people who are trying to get a PhD in seminary. They are thoughts and practices and theological insights that are meant for the person in church. They are written by pastors to their congregants, and therefore we, as people of a church, can read it and get pastoral insight. So Preaching the Word is one that I have found personal insight in, and one that I would recommend. The last one is the Reformed Expository Commentary that's edited by Richard Phillips. This one is probably the one that sounds the scariest, right? And even just the word commentary can be off-putting to some. But I want you to think about these books as just kind of having a pastor in your house to help you with the text. So this Reformed Expository Commentary series by Richard Phillips, maybe the distinguishing factor is that Phillips promises scholarship, some really cool insights without being too high-level academic. Okay, so he provides scholarship without being too high level, and he provides deep doctrine that is paired with practicality. He doesn't want you to read this book and have a bunch of thoughts that you can't use. He wants you to read the book and have a bunch of thoughts that you can put into practice in your spiritual life. This honestly might be one of the most challenging of the three options. So if you're looking for a bit of a challenge, that would be available to you. As a personal recommendation, I'll just tell you how I view commentaries. I like to push commentaries back towards later in the week when preparing a sermon. I think there is much value in wrestling with the text. So if you are to use a commentary, what I would recommend, it's not a requirement, but a recommendation, is that you would spend maybe Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday just meditating, marinating, chewing, whatever word you want to use on a few verses of the passage, and then you would consult someone who has studied it deeply and preached it faithfully. All of these are just suggestions. What we would ask is that you would prayerfully consider what the Lord would have you do in your personal devotional time. And so you would say, Lord, how are you asking me to change, or how are you asking me to deepen my time in the Word? And maybe it's stepping out on a limb and getting a commentary. Maybe it's the opposite, and it's slowing down and reading just a few verses a week. So we'd ask that you would reach out to the Lord, spend some time today thinking, how would you have me engage this book? God bless.